We'd like to welcome everybody tonight to a very special presentation. We have with us tonight Max Mirho, who's going to be talking to us a little bit about one of the steps that we'll be going through fairly soon. Some of you are not quite there, but it's we're going to be looking at how we can test our ideas in terms of payment testing when we don't actually have a fully functional MVP, maybe. And so Max is going to share some of his expertise. He's been doing this for a while, and he's done this quite a bit. And rather than me talk about Max, I'll let him talk about himself. So Max, whenever you're ready, you're welcome to share your screen if you'd like, and you're welcome to take it away.
That sounds great. All right, so excuse me. I'm gonna move that. So also, if anybody has any questions, you can feel free to interrupt me, or you can drop them in the chat. I have the chat open, so I should be able to see everything that's going on. So cool. As long as everybody can see my screen. Am I sharing the right screen?
Looks good. I can see your screen.
Okay, cool. Yeah, awesome. So I am Max, Max Mirho, and I run a little thing on the internet called Entreprenerd. I am by no means an expert, but essentially what we do is it's a live stream. It's a live stream every week. I usually live stream twice a week. On the weekends, we goof off. And during the weekdays, we experiment. We experiment with no-code tools. We experiment with little client situations. We experiment with anything that we can find on the internet to build something cool, usually a product or a service that we can sell on the internet. We experiment with entrepreneurship, essentially. And that's very broad and entails a whole bunch of different things. Last week, for the past 2 weeks, 2 weeks ago, we built an online course that I just recorded really quick and just threw together on a tool called Thinkific. And then last week, we A/B tested it, and we just started kind of messing with it. What were you saying, Tanya?
Say that again. What's the name of that tool?
Thinkific. I can actually pull it up.
Thinkific. Yeah. Okay, I'll put it in the chat.
Thinkific.com. Really, really nice tool. It's like, I like it because it's free to get started, and it lets you fully form everything you need. So yeah, it was a really nice tool to use. But that's a good example of just something that we did recently. We messed around with it. We experimented with it just to see how it functions out there. And soon, over the next probably 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to start running ads on that, trying to get people to use it, trying to sell it, trying to use it as a lead magnet. There's a ton of different things you can do with everything. But that's just like kind of an example of just stuff that we experiment with. I do it on LinkedIn, on Twitch, on most places that you can live stream. Yeah, that's my thing. It's called Entreprenerd. Very dorky, but yeah, it's just messing around with entrepreneurship for fun. So, and if you do want to learn more about some of the stuff that I do, I'm going to post a little link in the chat. This is my website, but you can follow me on Twitch if you do care about the live streams. I have a little newsletter. There's a free tier, which just updates you in case you miss a live stream. And there's also a paid tier. Like I have a class that you can subscribe to. And then there's a paid version of the newsletter where I dive deeper. But for the most part, the live streams is the main stuff that I do. Yeah, you can find more information here. But cool, that is me. And I love entrepreneurship, and I'm a super huge dork about it. So today, like Tanya kind of said, I want to go over a quick little way to test a startup idea online, right? Everybody has startup ideas. It's this fun little thing where it doesn't matter kind of what background you come from. Everybody always loves to like sit around a campfire while you're camping or hang out with friends and talk about like these crazy startup ideas that we have, right? It's a very common pastime regardless of what your background is. Actually like going out and testing those without like building some giant fancy app or whatever the heck it is not that hard. Like it's not that hard to go about and test it. And there are two main ways that you should, of like steps that you should think about taking before you actually go and try to make anything, right? I'm big on make it later. There's a ton of ways to really quickly prototype your big fancy idea. But before you spend any effort making something, you need to make sure people care about it, right? Make sure people will buy it. And you have no idea if people are going to buy it. I have made some whack stuff and nobody cared at all. Most of the projects that I've done, nobody cared at all. Anybody else lose sound? Karen might be having some sound issues.
I think it's just Karen.
Okay, cool. She got it. But yeah, so you should not build anything. You should make sure that people care. You have no idea if people are going to care. And there's a few ways to check before you build anything if people care, right? And if people will even think about buying what you're going to make. So everybody always talks about like the risk of entrepreneurship that's huge and talked about a ton online. It does not have to be risky. It's risky if you quit your day job, jump full time into something that you have no idea whether people want, and then go from there. And that usually ends in a ton of failure. And we never hear those failure stories because we only hear the big ones. And so I'm a big supporter of test, be safe, experiment with it before you jump into it all the way, right? So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. So first, I'm going to go through a basic little example of just how to test, and then I'll go over kind of customer discovery and a little bit deeper on that. I'm sure you've heard about customer discovery to some degree, but it's essentially just like asking if like you solve a problem, right? And if it's a big enough problem that your product solves.
I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Max, but no, I appreciate that. That's great, giving a little bit of background. The majority of the students who are in the meeting and the presentation tonight, they are actually right in the thick of the customer discovery process. Some of them are testing out their ideas. They're all in different stages, but we do have some people who are very new in here too, who have maybe not done any customer discovery, and so it's great to have that introduction. So great.
Yeah, perfect, awesome, good. Yeah, so I'll try to go through everything and not skip over too much. But yeah, so customer discovery, and this little trick that I'm going to show you is kind of a form of customer discovery, or at least like building an audience that you can then use for customer discovery. But customer discovery is essentially just, I think that consultants of ages, like consultants in Connecticut of ages 34 to 50 will want my product, right? I assume that this is the people that I'm serving. There's just a random kind of piece of the population that I just kind of made up. Let's say I'm creating a consulting platform to help connect consultants with clients or something like that, right? Just some startup idea. Before I go and build that, I should go and talk to consultants in Connecticut of ages 34 to 50, right? I should go ask them, what are your problems? What you're dealing with? How are you overcoming those problems? What tools do you currently use? I'll go over that a little bit later, but that's kind of the concept of customer discovery, to make sure that the audience you think you're building your thing for has a problem that you're fixing, right? Has the actual problem, and the problem is defined enough. So I'll dig into that a little bit deeper later, but yeah. So the hack that I want to show you is essentially pretending you have your idea complete. And I'm going to show you an example of the main example that I've used thus far. So this is a little landing page, no spoil, never have a movie, TV show, or game spoiled again. So if you watch sports games and you didn't get to watch the sports game on time, if you like a TV show came out and you don't want to like get it spoiled on Twitter and you don't want anybody to tell you like who died in Game of Thrones, right? Or a movie came out and you haven't had time to see it in theaters, but you don't want people to spoil it on Facebook when you're goofing off on social media or reading articles, right? Little idea that I came up with, wrote a little post on it. People thought it was cool. And so I made a little landing page for it. I made a dumb little logo on Canva. And you scroll down, it gives you a couple examples, like set it and forget it. It's a Chrome plugin is the idea. It's compatible with social. It's a Chrome plugin. You just pop onto your computer. I had the idea formed in my head. I have not built anything. This is completely just an idea, but I pretended that it was built, right? I say buy now for only $1 a month. That is just a ballpark price. Who knows? Maybe people won't buy it at all. Maybe people will just use it for free. You click download and it immediately goes to a type form. And this is just kind of a form. You could use a Google form. It goes to a form where you fill out information. But basically what the form says is, no spoilers, still under development, but we're almost finished, right? Oops, my bad. We're super glad you're interested. We're actually not finished with the product yet, but I'm super glad you care, right? And the interesting thing is, if they click on that button to download, fully understanding that they read $1 a month, you can probably, you can't completely assume, but you can relatively assume that they're interested, right? And they would pay probably $1 a month, right? So let's say you send 100 people that all watch a ton of movies to this site, and 10 of them or 20 of them or 30 of them click that button and fill out this form. That's pretty good, like, confidence that a lot of people want what you're trying to make, right? If people fill this out, they want this, right? They took the time to go through a bunch of different little steps and submit their email and submit their name and give feedback, right? If they go through that process, you don't want to make it like super annoying and super difficult. If they go through that process, they're probably going to buy your thing, right? Because they put in the effort right now, because that was a problem for them. When they saw it, they were like, oh my gosh, I hate when that happens. I hope this thing can fix my problem, right? But all I did was pretend it exists on just a little landing page. And so just kind of build out like explain the funnel of how I did that, how I like tried to go and test this. I didn't fully test it. It failed in a bunch of different ways, but I still learned how the whole funnel works. And I know a ton of entrepreneurs who have done this, and I've actually built startups with this process. But
Yes.
the first thing I did, I went on Canva, did a little 9x16 like thing right here. It said, hate spoilers, get no spoil, never get a show, movie, etc. I just explain what it is, right? This ad I put on Facebook ads, right? This is a little Facebook ads account. It takes nothing to sign up. It doesn't cost anything. A pretendo type. Ooh, I like that a lot, Tanya.
That's what we call it. Yeah, we call it our pretendo types. We also have Wizard. We also call them sometimes Wizard of Oz MVPs.
Wizard of Oz, yes. So Wizard of Oz, like, like I've seen different examples of Wizard of Oz. Usually, when people talk about Wizard of Oz, from what I've seen at least, it's like this is an AI platform that, like, you write a few words and we just make your copy better, right? Or something, some big complicated tech thing. But instead of actually having the AI that does some fancy thing,
it's a person.
It's a person.
Yeah. That's more Wizard of Oz. Yours is a pretendo type, no doubt.
I like the term pretendo type a lot. I'm totally going to steal that from you guys.
Yeah, it's yours.
I like that a lot. That's great. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Pretendo type. Interesting concept and term. Yeah. No, I agree, Rika. But yeah. So basically, all I did is I made. Also, this is where I failed right here. If you can see, this is a terrible ad. This is an absolutely garbage ad. I should have made a video that explains the process. I should have targeted it a bit better. I didn't do the ad well, and so I didn't end up getting any signups. But the people that I directly sent to the landing page liked it a lot, and they did end up like showing some interest. But I failed in the ad, so that was where I kind of messed up. So there's a bunch of different places you can kind of mess up, but yeah, I just built a basic little ad. I would recommend a video. Video ads tend to work better, but I put the ad on Facebook. I submitted it to Facebook and Instagram. I had it run to people that are interested in Game of Thrones and Suits and a bunch of other like dramatic TV shows and The Mandalorian and a bunch of other things, right? And Star Wars and just the more like typical media viewers, right? They like the typical pop culture stuff. And I thought that was well targeted enough, and everybody above 18 in the US, right? I targeted it to them. I sent this ad. This is exactly what it looked like, along with a couple of other examples in different formats. Yeah, never have a show, movie, game spoiled again. Get no spoil. And so the way that I actually built this, so like first of all, this is how I sent people to the site, right? I ran an ad, spent like I think $20 on it, and just sent it out to people that I thought would be interested in what I was trying to build. It does not take long to learn how to use Facebook Ads Manager. Super, super easy. YouTube tutorials are all over the internet. Oh, it was popular media stuff. Yeah, exactly. That's what I figured, right? Because that's who I was theoretically building it for. People who get popular media spoiled. But yeah, I'm not going to go too deep into all these. I'm going to show you a bunch of different tools that I use to build out the flow of this. I'm not going to go too deep into them because they each have their own independent thing. I could talk about each for half an hour. But if you look up on YouTube how to run an ad on Facebook Ads Manager, super easy. It took me like I had no idea what I was getting into, and it took me like an hour to learn. It was not, and once you learn it, it's actually a really, really valuable thing. So, but yeah, if you're interested in doing this kind of thing, just look up on YouTube some tutorials. There's people that have fully documented how it functions. So that was the first thing. That was how I got the traffic to the site, right? To this little landing page that pretends it exists. So people are convinced that I have something real. And I used a cool tool called card.co. So I'm actually going to post this in the chat as well. Card.co, really, really simple little site just to build landing pages like this. Unbelievably simple, has all the basics, super cheap if you want to, it's free to start, and then super cheap if you want to add on like a custom URL. Like I might get like nospoil.com, right? And hook it up to make it look slightly more professional. Not super necessary. If you look at the actual landing page, it says nospoil.card.co, slightly less professional, not really important. I wouldn't even worry about it. This is the website that I use, and this is the website that like URLs like that really don't make that big of a difference. I mean, like the landing page things are going to try to convince you because it costs extra, but I really wouldn't worry about it. So yeah. And then down here, I added all these little things. I just grabbed some stuff off of the internet, wrote a few little things down of what I think it functions like. And then down here, I put a little block of text, and I hit the download button. And under here, I just added a Typeform link. and Typeform is the next little tool. So Typeform, this is Typeform. Let's go back to my workspace. You can use anything for this. It's just a form. It's just a data collector. There's there's SurveyMonkey. There's Google Forms that's super free and super easy to use. There's Typeform. Typeform, from what I've seen, is just kind of like the sexiest tool. It makes it really, really easy for people to use, and they're really nice. They have a really nice user interface. But I built a little thing here, and if you go here, literally it's super easy to use. I said, what's your email? What features do you plan to use for the tool? Which is a great question, because now you know what people are interested in. Maybe people only, like 90% of people that fill out the form answer no sports game spoilers. And okay, maybe I should forget about everything else and just focus on the sports games, right? And then 3, there was some more, but I don't think I finished it, or maybe I edited it. Yeah, there was like, how bad do you want this, or how many dollars would you pay for this, or something like that, right? Ask whatever questions, like beginner customer discovery, you think are useful. But then I just linked this. I grabbed the link from share. I connected it to this little landing page with just the Typeform link. And then I connected that. I went over to the connect page and connected it to a Google Sheet. It's also just super free. All of this was free. I connected it over to the Google Sheet. And here's an example of somebody that signed up, one of my friends, Hank, because I sent it to him and he thought it was really cool. But yeah, that is literally the entire process, right? And from then, you run the ad, you see what people respond to, how many people fill it out. If you don't get any people filling it out, then you know people aren't interested, right? If a ton of people visit your site and nobody clicks the link and nobody like actually goes and visits that your form, then you know people don't like the idea. For me, I didn't even get there because nobody actually clicked on my ad, which tells me that the ad sucked, right? So you can kind of tell based on conversions just by looking at some data from multiple tools who visits what and how far people get in that little process to see how people are, how interested people are. So yeah, maybe I sold it wrong. Maybe people weren't interested in the idea at all, and that's why the ad failed. But I definitely could have done better with the ad and improved it there. But that's essentially the entire process. It's just pretending, hey, I have this thing. People think it's a thing. They click on it, and you get feedback, right? And if enough people click it, you're in business. I would start trying to build that. I would start connecting with more people in that area and start investigating what exactly you need to build. But that's the little hack. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you connect that to Sheets again?
Can you introduce yourself when you ask a question? I'm sorry. Who is this?
This is Isaac.
Oh, hey, Isaac. Oh, sorry, Isaac.
How'd you connect that to Sheets?
Yeah, so this is, if you go to create, like I click on the little thing, I click create new Typeform, and this is just how I make all of the questions. I can add a new question here, et cetera, et cetera. And then I go over to connect, and it gives you a bunch of different examples of things that you can connect it to. So you can connect it to Google Analytics, MailChimp, everything else. I just clicked, this is really cute because it's like, send your data directly to Google Sheets. Oh, Sheets. It's very cute. I never see companies really mess around with that kind of stuff, but
awesome. Thank you so much.
Super easy to,
that's
super
super
easy to
easy,
do.
yeah.
So yeah, and then it just connects over here, get all the information, what features do you plan to use, all this stuff is input automatically. And yeah, it just works. And I know a bunch of people that have like started companies this way, right? Just by, hey, this is a cool idea. Let's just throw up a landing page and pretend it works, right? That was actually how Dropbox got started. I think one of the more famous companies out there, because they had a Wizard of Oz kind of thing. They made a fake little video pretending it worked. And they were like, hey, you can just share files. And people were like, oh, really? And apparently it was a big enough problem at the time. People couldn't share files effectively that they were like, I'm going to sign up for this now. And they had a wait list and everything like that. But they didn't build a product. They just pretended it exists, made a little video using Premiere Pro or whatever, and put it up and sent a bunch of people to it and like tried to see if people cared. And they did. So they built it.
Yeah, so I've just not to interrupt, but just to add to that, you know, I've seen this happen quite a bit. We've had a lot of students do this and with a lot of success, and you know, and then there's oftentimes the question of is this ethical? Is this you know, is this something that you want to do, and do you want your customers to you know to associate you with you know, you're pretending you have something that you don't actually have. And so there, you know, absolutely, you know, you can if you do create the product, you can then absolutely provide that to them, or service or whatever. But there are other ways to do it too if you don't feel comfortable with this. And I think it's like for everyone, it'll have to be a sort of assessment of what you feel good about. I personally don't have too much of a problem with this. I've had it happen to me where I've gone through, all the way through, ready to buy something, and then you realize at the end, oh wow, they were just, they were testing to see what their conversion rate was. And it's up to you is my point. There are other things that we can do though too. And I do see some other questions from
So
Sabash.
Sabash says, yes, so I did have to pay for the ad in Facebook. It doesn't cost that much. You would be shocked at the conversions. I can actually show you some of like how well it did. I want to see if I can see.
Probably cost you what, a couple bucks or something like this?
Yeah, let's go lifetime. How much did I spend on this? So my reach was that. How much did it cost? Let's go to ad sets. Yeah, so I spent $10. I think I did target it relatively closely, but you can do it super generally. I have run an ad. I actually run ads on my Instagram profile sometimes to see if I can get people to follow me. And I built I think I spent somewhere around $50 and got like 600 followers. So like you can do, if you target it in the right ways, I targeted that really well. But for this, it was like, I paid $10 and I showed it to 1,600 people, right? And that was highly, highly targeted. So pretty good. Like Facebook ads are really, really cheap, but they do get ignored relatively often. So it's a balance.
So Max, will you talk to them a little bit about using LinkedIn? We're right now in where we are in the incubator is we're all connecting with one another on LinkedIn and connecting with our mentors and connecting with, just with people in our sphere of influence. And we have a pretty decent network once you put everyone together. What do you think about LinkedIn?
Yeah, totally. So actually, everything that I've done with Entreprenerd, all of this, 100%, I've been doing this for about 2 years consistently. And everything that I've built, like I have, I think like almost 8,500 followers on LinkedIn, but that was the basis for my entire, like I worship LinkedIn. Like I'm all over LinkedIn. I do it constantly. It's a huge, huge piece of everything that I'm doing. Because one, you can find literally anybody you want. And if you're in professional networking, you're looking for mentors, if you're looking for customers, right? It's unbelievably useful. If I'm selling to anybody that is even remotely professional or businesses that are even remotely professional, I can find them all on LinkedIn. So it's amazing for customer discovery. But yeah, it's also just incredible to build a network from, right? Because it allows people to keep track of you. If you're building anything, if you're trying to build anything, if you're trying to find mentors, if you're just trying to build yourself up in really any direction, it is your Rolodex. And I don't have to think about who I know. I can just search. It's super, super useful. And I've also gotten a ton of business through LinkedIn. Like I do digital marketing. All of that has come through LinkedIn. That's my gig that I pay myself with. This is still kind of a side project. But yeah, I don't know. I cannot recommend LinkedIn enough. And it's really not that hard to use. Just posting content and creating a decent profile. You can use mine as an example. I'll post it at the end of this. But yeah, would highly recommend it. And if you want to connect with me, please do. Would love that. So yeah, there were a couple of other questions. Response to the validation, no matter how much you lead is yeah, absolutely. Yes. Response is the validation. If people say, I want this, then they want it, right? There's no idea. It does not matter at all how much you think, how much you think it's awesome, how much like effort you've put in. It all depends on the response from your audience, right? And so this is a way to test that. Melissa asked, does this work for brick and mortar services? How do you know if they're real accounts visiting and not just bots? So that's actually a good point. Yeah. So bots, like bots do things on the internet. Bots are going to do things that are like very well defined, like connect with you on LinkedIn or connect with you on Instagram or follow you on Instagram or follow you on Twitter and unfollow you or like things like that. That's usually where you see bots, right? Bots are not going to be able to find their way through a very unique and just kind of uniquely created landing page, right? So and also bots don't really click on ads. There's no reason for them to. Like if I put an ad up, unless somebody is trying to sabotage me and like click it a ton of times to like charge me money specifically, if somebody has a personal vendetta, that occasionally happens in like weird black market kind of business things. I know thousands of professionals. I've never seen that happen to anybody running ads or anything like that. So it's a good question. It's just, I really wouldn't worry about it. But yeah. And then for brick and mortar services, it definitely works. brick and mortar is tough just in general because you have that upfront investment of I need a space to do this. But the same concepts apply. Yeah, if I wanted to open a store in Pittsburgh where I live, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, if I wanted to open a store here that does like super special back rubs mixed with like, I don't know, board games, right? Like a massage board game parlor or something, some unique little brick and mortar store. Yeah, I can put up a landing page around that. I would message then people specifically in Pittsburgh or specifically in the neighborhood where I think I'm going to buy like a property, right? The only thing that's different is that there's upfront investment. So you have to pay for that store or get a loan or get an investor or whatever the heck it is. But this process is the same. Yeah, you can still test the idea. Billy says a pretender type ad campaign is okay with me because you can find, engage your most relevant users at the right moment to build awareness, generate leads and drive conversions. Exactly, Billy. Yeah, it's not it. A lot. I know some people that have been like wobbly about it, but you're not like if you were charging, there are some companies out there that like will charge without promise of actually delivering it, and that's scummy. That is very scummy. That very rarely happens, but occasionally I've seen scams on the internet where that occurs, right? We're not even close to that. We're not even charging anything. We're just asking that somebody clicks a button and gives us a little bit of personal information if they want the thing that we're building at some point in the future. There's literally nothing, I don't know. It totally depends on who you are as a person. I've done this a bunch of times. I've put this out on the internet a ton of times. People are a little bit like wobbly about it, but nobody's ever concerned. It doesn't seem to, when it comes to customers, like the only reason that I have noticed this happening in the world is because I've done it before. 99.9% of people out there are going to see this and be like, oh shoot, okay, so they set up the page ahead of time. It's cool that they're still in development. Awesome, I'll sign up, right? It does not even go through their mind that they're faking it to try to like drum up some excitement beforehand. Nobody even thinks in that direction unless they've tried this themselves. And this is a very, very rare thing. So in terms of like ethics, yeah, it doesn't bother me personally. I'm happy to discuss that if you have any questions, but yeah. And then what tools/platforms do you like for A/B testing? Yeah, so I did a stream recently. I'm super green on A/B testing. There are a few places like, I think it's like leadpages.net and a few other tools. If you just look up like A/B testing landing pages, I can do that right now actually. A/B testing landing pages. There's going to be a bunch of things like Optimizely. I've seen that. MailChimp. I think they just create landing pages. Crazy Egg. Yeah, the Crazy Egg's just writing about it. There are a bunch of different tools in this kind of direction. If you're just doing a few little basic things, it's not like if you're just testing an idea, just putting it out there, using the format that I used, you don't have to optimize everything. You really shouldn't worry about it. You really only should worry about optimizing once you have like a few $1,000s pumping into an ad campaign, because beyond that, it's hard to like distinguish between what works best, right? I think like the best thing that I like, the A/B testing that I do is this looks fine, right? I'm comfortable with this landing page. It's simple. It doesn't really, I could build multiple ones and send different ads to different ones and have them all connect to like different Google Sheets and then just compile them into one. I could do that if I wanted to without any extra tools or any extra costs, but this works fine. This is pretty simple. This doesn't really need to be changed that much. It's really like basic. I would probably run multiple ads. Like maybe you make 3 little video ads of like, hey, don't get your sports games spoiled. Hey, don't get your movies spoiled. Hey, don't get your TV show spoiled, and target those like specifically to see who responds better. You can totally do that, but I don't really use any tools for that. It's not that hard to do basic A/B testing just with the Facebook Ads Manager, because you can run different campaigns and different campaign groups once you experiment with it a little bit. But yeah, I'm super green on A/B testing. I've done some basic stuff, but I usually run a bunch of similar ads and try to optimize the ad as opposed to the landing page, because I don't know, I don't feel like paying for a tool to just test a little idea that I have. So it's very, very basic. You should spend very little money on testing an idea, because it's yeah, it's just an idea. You shouldn't have to spend cash there. Billy says, advertisement campaigns can carry clever, funny, profound messages that are all memorable for the first one. Yeah, so that's interesting. That's a little bit more on the branding side. That's like for larger companies. Like if you did a really great ad, it makes you feel good. People like it. They'll remember that for years to come. With this, branding isn't super important. They're probably going to see you once and forget about you. But that's what we want, right? We just want it kind of quick and done. So that is my kind of rant. I don't know if you wanted to say anything, Tony. I can go into customer
No,
discovery.
no, I agreed 100%, 100%. We're not trying to build a brand identity here. We're trying to test, we're trying to test an idea.
Yeah.
To validate an assumption to see if, we could get them converting. So, yeah, do we have any other questions from the audience? Does anybody have any other thoughts, questions, comments, concerns?
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer stuff. And then I also have I can go into some customer discovery, because this isn't customer discovery. This is just a way to quickly test an idea before you go into something deeper. But customer discovery, if you're building some large, profound, techie idea, you should talk to like probably 50 to 100 customers that are directly in your industry to make sure that you're solving a real problem before you build anything.
Absolutely. We have a couple minutes. I'd love it if you wanted to share a little bit about the discovery process. A lot of them are just for the first time ever doing their, their very first attempt at a customer discovery, at problem interviews and surveys. So we'd love to get your input on that and your take on it.
Yeah. So I built this little thing. I'm going to put it in the chat. It's called customerdiscovery.info. I think it only works. I don't think it works in Safari, which is disappointing, but I launched this on Product Hunt. It was a little thing that we built on one of our streams. It's essentially just a little free website built on Notion, a great little tool, but it's a fun little thing. It's a nice little resource. It kind of just documents like how to perfect customer discovery and what it means and what it does, right? If you want to like dig into it deeper. But basically, I would go, if I was, let's say I had a baby bottle, right? I was building a baby bottle, best gosh darn baby bottle you've ever flipping seen. Like it's better than, in my opinion, better than every single baby bottle on the market. It's just, babies love this thing, right? And it's super comfortable for parents, just best baby bottle. I have this idea for how it works and I want to build this thing, right? So I go and I talk to moms, right? That have a newborn child, parents that have a newborn child that are raising a kid and are using a baby bottle, right? And I ask them, what is the current problem with your baby bottle? Like, does your child like the baby bottle? How are they currently dealing with it? What are the biggest problems that you've kind of assessed? Have you considered buying other baby bottles, et cetera, et cetera? I ask as many possible questions I have about their experience solving this problem. Maybe, and I'm assuming that they have this problem of their kid doesn't like their baby bottle, right? Just going out and talking to your potential customer, like asking them as many questions. I actually have this on my website. If you go to, where is it? If you go to resources and then to SMB customer discovery template, this is more for businesses. So it's more based around profit and saving time and a bunch of other things. If you're doing like consumer interviews, say to a pair of parents and their kid, then I'm going to try to do another template that's more consumer based. Then it's a little bit different. This is a good starting point though, for like, how are you currently solving the problem? What are the different like areas of your day? Where are the biggest issues, et cetera, right? That's a nice little starting point if you want. And then also customerdiscovery.info that I posted, also a really nice resource. I have templates on there as well. But yeah, that's essentially the process. It's just asking, what is your problem? And not saying jack about your startup idea, right? Because if I say, hey, yo, to like one of my friends, like, hey, you're raising a kid. I have the idea for the best baby bottle you've ever seen. Would you buy it, right? If I ask somebody that, they're going to be like, sure, yeah, absolutely. It's super easy for somebody to just say like, yeah, totally, absolutely. But that's not confirmation whether they would spend 10, 20, 30 bucks on a baby bottle, right? That's confirmation that they support you, which is not what you want. And people get that confused a lot.
Right. And they're your buddy. They're your buddy. They like you. They're gonna say yes. But
And usually the way you get those interviews is because, hey, I would love your advice. That's how you reach out to people. I would love your advice. And so if you're asking for their advice, they're going to want to be supportive, right? So when you're doing customer discovery, when you're trying to assess what problems people are having, never mention your idea until maybe the very end, just to get a little bit of preliminary feedback on what they think. But do not mention at the beginning. You do not want to prime their brain with, oh, that's what this kid is building. I want to just support them as much as I possibly can. That's not helpful. That ends up ruining what you are actually working towards.
thank you. Yes.
Yeah. So if your consumer and buyer are different people, if your consumer and buyer are different people, would the pretender type work? So an example of the baby bottle, very good point. That you can get a little bit wonky with that. Ideally, the people like reaping the benefit of your product should be the ones paying, right? That gets into a little bit of kind of like a philosophical entrepreneurship discussion. In the case of the baby bottle, yes, the kid is using the baby bottle, but the parents are happier because they have to deal with less, right? The parents are happier because their kid is happier. So they are still reaping a benefit, right? And so that would make sense that they're paying. But be careful. Very, very good point, Vedant. If your consumer, like the person using and like gaining the benefit from your product, is different from the person paying, you have an issue. Because why would somebody pay to make somebody else happy unless there's like father-daughter relationship, or mother-son, like unless there's a relationship like that, like why would they care, right? You ideally want to have those the one and the same. The person benefiting is the person paying. So yeah, but very, very great question. Very, very good question. But that gets a little bit deeper. So, but yeah, you can look on that little link right there. It's a nice little tool, B2B customer discovery. A nice example that's on my personal website if you go there. And yeah, that is essentially everything that I have. And I can drop my my links to some of my profiles in the chat if you want to connect with me on Instagram or LinkedIn. But yeah, that is my whole shtick. I would love to hear some questions if we have some time.
Can I just make just kind of add a little thing in there, Max?
Mm-hmm.
So in response to, I think it was Vedant who asked about the consumer and the buyer. So, there are times when your consumer and your buyer will be totally different people, and you can use, you can absolutely use the pretender type model to test whether or not they'll pay and how much they'll pay. But it can be a little sticky, just like Max said. We can talk one-on-one about this, and we'll talk about ways that you can use the same system,
Yeah.
a little bit modified, just a little bit modified. So
Yeah.
Like in our case, basically like it's basically like a nursing facility.
Introduce yourself, Vedant.
Oh, hi, I'm Vedant. Yeah, I asked the question. So, in our case, it's basically the nurse and the nursing facility. So that's kind of why I was asking, because the nursing facility would be paying for it, but the nurse is going to be the one that's using it.
Yeah. So as long as like the benefit is on the nursing facility side, like they're like, I'm not sure exactly what your idea is, but yeah, in that case, you're advertising to the nursing facility, right? You want to send that, you want to run this by the nursing facility because they're the ones paying, they're the ones that are going to be dishing out stuff. In certain situations, you could get maybe like, let's say like 10 or 20 nurses in a certain facility to like really, really recommend this piece of like this product that you're trying to build. It gets sticky. Yeah. I could go into this for like half an hour, but you should ideally, I think, usually as a rule of thumb, be advertising and talking to the people that are going to be paying. But really, really quick.
Model,
yes,
yeah.
with the pretender type. Yeah, when you're doing customer discovery and when you're pretending you have this thing complete. Yeah, so B2B is a little bit stickier, especially when it comes to like enterprise or group software that benefits like a community of people, where the community or the group or the company is buying for it. Yeah, it gets a little bit different there, but it's a very good point. Yeah, but it still works. You just got to be a little careful to make sure that.
Yeah.
Totally. You're talking about subsystems that are working. Yeah, I'm glad you liked it, Billy. And yeah, Jacob, totally. Slightly different relationship for sure. Yeah. Anybody else have any other questions?
Questions, comments from the audience?
Hey, this is Isaac. I was just gonna ask, how did you just get into this space? What drove your interest, and kind of like where do you want to go from here?
Yeah. Oh, why only 12 IG posts? Yeah, I'm trying to post more on Instagram. That's funny you noticed that, Melissa. But yeah, so good question, Isaac. I got into this about 2 years ago. I don't know. I started by, I started in business. My dad has always been in business. My dad runs a startup out in Seattle. It's this big fancy tech startup. He's very much in the space. And so he kind of like, I watched him. I love my dad. I'm very into the stuff that he does, and he's a big mentor to me. So of course I was like, that's really cool. I want to give that a shot, right? But mainly I went into like business in college because it's the broadest. Like you can do so much with business. You can go into finance, you can go into marketing, you can go into literally anything, right? There's so much that you can do with a business degree. It's just general enough that it kind of works. And there's a ton of different directions that you can go curriculum wise. So I didn't know what I wanted to do yet. And so that's why I went into business. My girlfriend did the same thing. She's in psychology now. She graduated with a degree in psychology, but she went into business because she was like, I don't know what I want to do yet, right? It takes time to figure it out. Most people don't have that figured out by the time they go into college. So business was the first step. I really liked entrepreneurship. Again, my dad was doing it. It also seemed like, of things in business, the most flexible. It's all over the place. It's random. You can essentially do whatever you want with it. And it's exciting, right? It's really fun. So I was interested in it to start. And then I realized I wasn't really learning too much from the curriculum at my school. I wasn't taking many classes in that kind of direction. And I felt bored. And so I reached out to a few local founders in my local community that were building really cool tech startups. And I immediately fell in love with the people that do it. And so that's what really, really got me into it, because the more I networked, the more I just obsessed over all these really, really cool people building these really, really cool things, solving these awesome problems in the world. And it just got me super pumped up. And once I started experimenting, there's a kind of dynamic of like, you do well with something and people support you. And I did a little bit well with entrepreneurship early on, and people really supported me. And so I kept the same thing happened with LinkedIn. I posted about entrepreneurship really early on. People loved it. It supported me. It helped me keep going. And from there, I was able to iterate because I had support behind me. But generally, I think the thing that got me into it was the people. I just really like the people that are in entrepreneurship. Everybody just gets so pumped about random crap.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, because I kind of had a very similar process to you. Where'd you go to school?
Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh. It's a very, very techie school. I went to business school. They have a pretty decent, I think it's like top 7 or 5 business schools. So it's a good place. But most of what the school is known for is tech. They have like the #1 computer science program and #1 robotics program and a bunch of other #1 AI and machine learning program, blah, 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 blah. And I'm not techie at all. I use all these no code tools and I connect them all together because I can't tech for the life of me. I couldn't tech my way out of a paper bag.
I tell you what, once people learn how to pin together those no code solutions, those are the ones who are successful. When people think that they need to code things from scratch from the beginning, those are the ones that typically I've seen in the last 10, 15 years. They don't succeed as well as people like you who can put it together and make it work no code.
Yeah, I agree. And a lot of people that I know in the tech space that are really into entrepreneurship, they don't code stuff. They're just like, if I'm testing this out, I'm just going to whip it together with some no code stuff and see what people think before. Yeah. Why would you put, they like hate, it's funny. They hate building stuff just as much as the next person. It takes a lot of time. So why would you invest that extra time unless you like really, I know some people that are super nerds about it. And so they just really like want to get into it. But 99% of the entrepreneurs that I know are just like, no, I faked the hell out of it. I like mixed some stuff up. I no coded some stuff together. And then once it was validated, then I took the effort to pay money, build it out, etc. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So cool. We have just a couple minutes left. I just want to make sure we might have time for maybe one more question if we have it.
Yeah.
Guessing.
Melissa said, did you study data science too? Heck no. I took like one statistics class. I like data. It's fun. It doesn't take much to like look at an ads manager and say, I got 1,600 for this. I spent this much money. I divide those two numbers and I like, this is how much it costs to reach this many people, right? It's like, that's really the only data that I use. So yeah, I'm not into, I love Google Sheets. I love all the different crazy things you can do with Google Sheets. There's like a shocking amount of stuff you can do with it. You have no idea. But in terms of actual data, I'm not that deep in. One little thing that I did want to point out that I have written down here is the landing page strategy. So once we get these people signed up, that's great validation, but you can also use those people, right? Now I have Hank's email, right? His name's Hank Wild. Now I have Hank's email. Now I can go and reach out to Hank and say, hey, glad you were interested in No Spoil. Do you think you would be open to hopping on a half-hour call, hour-long Zoom call, something like that and like help me hash out this kind of thing? Because in reality, I'm actually still building this and I would love feedback on what it actually looks like, right? Then you get feedback. Then you start to understand. That is a little bit biased. That's not perfect customer discovery because they already know what your idea is, right? That's a little bit different. That's more product feedback. So be aware, separate those two things, but you can absolutely get a ton of deeper product feedback by reaching out to the people that you get contact information from through the whole filling out the form process. So it can lead to interviews, and that's really important. I would definitely interview anybody that signs up for my stuff. It gets me, because they probably have a completely different concept of what it is than I do, and that's hugely valuable for when I'm actually building the product. So cool. Neato.
Max, this is Anastasia. I just wanted to say thank you for this. This was really super valuable, and the way that you present information was very, very good. And I was very into this whole webinar the entire time, and you gave a lot of information, and my mind is kind of overwhelmed, but in a good way. So thank you. Appreciate it.
I super appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah. I know I tend to digress and get distracted by a lot of things. If you ever like join one of my live streams at any point, I'm all over the freaking place, but I'm really glad you liked it. I'm really glad that it was valuable. I appreciate that. That means a lot.
If you want to just kind of take it out with a closing thought there, Max.
Yeah. If you want to hit me up again, I posted my website up top, entrepreneur.blog. I make a lot of fun stuff. I goof off with entrepreneurship a ton. Follow me on Twitch. Would love to see you there. I live stream every week. And it's always good to, my main goal is to build up this, right? I'm going to start actually running some ads more on my Instagram profile, posting more there. I'm going to try to run some ads on Twitch. I'm going to try to just build up the community because I've finally gotten to a point over the last 2 years where I really like the content that I'm creating and I just want to push it out to more people. So I would love to see you on there if you're interested in it all, but you can find more information on my website. Yeah, I appreciate everybody joining.
Thank you so much, Max. And I really wanted to bring Max on here today because, this is the same thing that we're doing. All of us are doing very, very similar things in the incubator here at the Rec Innovation Lab. And, they're all testing out their ideas. They're doing their pretendo types and their customer discovery. But it's so nice to hear from somebody who is who's young, who's been doing this and who's been doing it recently. And I think, I don't know, it's nice to have somebody on here who says the same things that I say, so that then they can know, okay, I'll believe it when somebody who's my age, maybe looks like me, is saying it. Thanks, Max.
Absolutely, yeah, totally. And Billy, awesome. I would love to see you in the live streams. That'd be really cool. And then Isaac, yes, I can totally spare I think 20 minutes after this. And I have a couple other things that I got to get to, but I can totally drop 20, 30 minutes after this. Shoot me a message on Instagram or LinkedIn, and I can send you a Zoom link and we can hop on a call. I would love to hear about what you're working on. Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
Good job, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you again, Max. You are always welcome. Anytime you wanna come and share anything, we'll put together some more workshops. Love having you here.
Would love to participate. Yeah, anything I can help with. I love all the stuff you're working on. There needs to be more people like you. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. All right, everybody. Have a great night. Thanks again. And we will see you at the next workshop.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye, Max. Bye. Thanks.